Hello guys, I'm your host William and today we're going to talk about Safe. A little girl named May lives in China. She is a gifted mathematician with the ability to solve complex mathematical problems in her head. She also has an excellent memory and never forgets any number sequence. She comes across May as she walks home with her friends one day. When she is kidnapped by a group of men, she is taken to a Chinese mafia leader named Han's criminal enterprise's digital data can be tracked. As a result, he wishes to employ me as his personal mental calculator, capable of memorizing data for him. The little girl initially refuses to cooperate, but when he threatens to kill her mother, she agrees to comply. Chiang Mai is brought to New York under the care of a trusted gang member and hidden as his daughter somewhere else in New Jersey. Former cop turned MMA fighter, Luke is engaged in a heated debate with his opponent. He has set up the match and is expected to lose. But he throws a good punch at his opponent and knocks him out straight into a calm. The victory enraged Emil, the head of the Russian mafia, who lost millions of dollars on Luke. Luke realizes that an angry gangster means trouble for his family. He rushes home, but he is too late because the Russians were quicker. The gangster's son has already murdered his pregnant wife. Luke is devastated by the death, and despite his ability to fight, he does not retaliate. The thugs then threaten to kill anyone he speaks to or comes into contact with. With nowhere to go and no one to turn to, Luke returns to New York, his birthplace. He begins his life as a homeless person wandering the streets of Manhattan. Mai is still working with the gang a year later. Sheen takes her on a weekly street tour. She memorizes the percentage of net profit or loss that each store faces in Chinatown. The store owners are supposed to pay the gang a set amount based on their profit. As a result, Maya has proven to be a valuable asset to them. During her time working with the gang, she learned a lot about how business works in the gangster world. Luke is a resident of a disorganized homeless shelter. Out of sympathy, he meets a man with no shoes and severely infected feet one night. He presents the man with his new. But when he wakes up the next day, he discovers that someone slit the poor guy's throat and stole his shoes overnight. To summarize, Luke's living conditions are. Meanwhile, a woman who works closely with Chang approaches Mai in the middle of the night and informs her of the death of her mother in China. The next day, Han, the gang's leader, arrives in New York for the first time since sending Mai. He's brought a piece of paper with a series of numbers written on it. Meyer is asked to remember the number, which she does in under 10 seconds. The numbers appear to be very important because Han burns the piece of paper to ashes, leaving only May to figure out what they are after Chang takes her to the next location. Meyer is told that when she arrives at her destination, she must memorize the second set of numbers. Everything goes as planned until they are attacked by the Russian mafia. Emil, the gangster who murdered Luke's. They are also after Mai because of the numbers she has memorized. A shootout ensues, and the Chinese gangsters lose to the Russians, who kidnap me elsewhere. Luke is having a bad day because a bystander stole his breakfast money while he was attempting to purchase something. He runs into a former colleague from the police department. The man recognizes Luke right away and leads him to an abandoned building with his fellow cops. Luke exposed their corrupt methods of assisting local gangsters a long time ago. The cops are still enraged at him for causing them trouble.
We heard with your chest.
Come back. Figured you wanted to die.
They used to beat him up and insult him, but he never retaliated. Finally, a cop hands Luke a gun and tells him to take his own life. Luke, on the other hand, refuses and walks away. Simultaneously, Mai is taken to the Russian gang leader Emil, who questions her about the numbers. She soon discovers that the lady who told her about her mother was all along assisting Emil. The lady also requests that Mai tell them the code, but Mai responds by claiming that the woman is going to die because she doesn't understand how business works. Following that, the men shoot her to death. Mai knows she will suffer the same fate if she tells them the number because she is no longer useful to them. As a result, she keeps. Captain Wolf, a corrupt cop and one of Luke's former colleagues, arrives at the Russian hideout to apprehend the criminals. However, he is not acting in accordance with the law. However, on the orders of the Chinese leader, Han Emil contacts the captain and offers him twice as much money as the Chinese gangsters to get him to leave his hideout. The corrupt captain accepts the offer and flees. By this point, Mai has fled the hideout without being noticed. Both the Russians and the Chinese gangsters begin looking for her, hoping to find her before the other group. Mai eventually arrives at the subway station where Luke is about to commit suicide. He is about to jump onto the tracks when he notices the terrified little girl and stops himself. He also notices the gangsters who murdered his wife, who are looking for the little girl to flee from them. She boards the subway, but the gang notices her and follows her. Luke realizes something is wrong and decides to save the girl. He jumps onto the subway and slaughters all the Russians on his way. One of them recognizes Luke as the person they assaulted a year ago. He is astounded that someone so submissive can defeat their entire army in minutes. In the end, he is also killed, and Luke finally meets Mai, but she runs away with the crowd as soon as the subway stops. Luke was mistaken for one of the bad guys. On his way to find her, Luke overhears a red alert code being broadcast to all cops. He notices that the girl is also wanted by the corrupt cop, who will undoubtedly hand her over to the mafia a few minutes later. Two cops who had previously beaten Luke find the girl and attempt to take her away. Luke arrives just in time and knocks them out in an instant, proving that he was only remaining silent because he wanted to. Mai still doesn't trust him, but she agrees to ride with him. When the Russian mafia arrives, a high-speed car chase ensues in Manhattan's streets. Finally, Luke murders all of the Russians, steals their wallets, and transports Mai to a posh hotel somewhere else. The captain learns that Mai was kidnapped by Luke, not the mafia. He is taken aback because Luke has not been involved in any criminal activity since leaving the police force. Meanwhile, after checking into the hotel, Mai begins to trust Luke and shares some of the numbers she has memorized with him. He deduces from the format of the numbers that it is the combination of a safe. Mai claims she was supposed to memorize a second sequence before the Russians attacked, implying that there are two safes with valuable contents being traded by the Chinese mafia. Chang then uses a tracking device in her to determine my location. He and his thugs arrive at the hotel and begin shooting. As people flee for their lives, chaos ensues. Luke eventually gets into a fist fight with the gangsters, causing him and Mai to split up. Chang seizes her, while Luke flees before he is killed. He knows he can't leave Mai alone and is willing to go to any length to get her back safe. So, using a phone he stole earlier, he calls the Russian leader Emil's son, Vaseline. Vaseline is also the man who murdered Luke's wife a year ago. Luke poses as a member of their gang and claims to have the number that everyone is looking for. Vaseline believes him and summons him to a casino to deliver the aforementioned. Someplace else, the mayor summons the corrupt police captain to his office to discuss the recent shooting. He and his boyfriend Alex, it turns out, are just as corrupt as the others. The mayor reveals that Luke was not your typical cop. In fact, he was a CIA agent who was loaned to the police force after September 11, 2001. While on the force, he and his former partner Alex assassinated several crime bosses in an attempt to impose their will. However, Luke was forced to resign after exposing the captain and his squad's corrupt practices. To get to where he is now, Alex stayed and seduced the mayor. The captain finally realizes that the man he thought was a loser is the most dangerous foe he has ever faced. Alex, Luke's former partner, is the mayor's boyfriend who has also become corrupt. When the mayor learns of Maya and Luke's relationship, he becomes concerned. He almost seems to know something about the safe and the combination. Meanwhile, Meyer is returned to the leader Han, who asks if she told anyone about the combination. She lies and claims she pretended not to understand. Shang calls Alex and informs him that they have the girl and can proceed with the meeting. The mayor and his boyfriend, Alex, are then revealed to be the people with whom the Chinese mafia was attempting to do business. They're exchanging the unknown contents of their respective safes, similar to selling unopened boxes of Pokémon cards. Luke then arrives at the casino, where he encounters the Russian gangsters. He ambushes Vaseline's henchmen and kidnaps them, intending to use them to threaten the Russian leader. In exchange for his son's life, he calls Emil and asks him about the contents of the safe. And Emil reveals that the safe with the Chinese gangsters contains $30 million, while the mayor's safe contains something worth the aforementioned money. The parties were about to trade using the little girl when the Russians intervened and thwarted the plan. The plan, however, is back on track now that the Chinese have Mai. Chang meets Alex to exchange the code. The only way for Luke to save the girl is to obtain the $30 million from the Chinese mafia prior to the trade. But he can't do it alone because the safe is deep in Chinatown and guarded by the most dangerous Chinese gangsters. As a result, he seeks assistance from his former police colleagues. They agree to assist, only for financial reasons. The group then enters the hideout and begins a shootout on the way. Several gangsters and cops are killed, but not Jason Statham, who still has to fight some more people with his fist. When they arrive at the locker, Luke betrays the cops and shoots them all, except the captain, whom he holds hostage along with Vaseline. He also takes the money from the safe and goes to the mayor's house. On his way, he calls Alex and inquires about the contents of the second safe, because Luke has the money, Alex is obligated to do everything he requests. He reveals that the second safe belongs to the mayor and contains a disc containing information on every crime syndicate in New York. The mayor wanted to sell it to the Chinese, take the $30 million, and leave the gangs to deal with the rest. Alex was about to hold the deal with Chang, but because the money has already been stolen, he returns to meet Luke. But Luke instructs him to bring me along because she is a valuable asset. Alex obeys the orders, assassinates Chang and his henchmen, and drives to meet Luke. Luke, along with the girl in the following scene, enters the mayor's office and requests the contents of the second safe. Despite his reservations, the mayor is forced to hand Luke a disc containing the data. Luke knocks him out and returns to meet Alex with both the money and the information as promised. He is the game's most powerful character. When the two finally meet to exchange for money, Alex has something more special in mind for me. Luke refuses to cooperate, instead recommending that they settle the matter with A. Alex prepares, but is shot in the leg. Luke kills him with ease because I took advantage of the situation. He and May are finally free, with the money and the desk for protection. Luke releases the captain with $50,000 as compensation for his troubles in exchange for my safety. He also gives Vaseline away so the Russians don't come after him. Then there's Han, the Chinese mafia boss who had his money and my stolen from him. Luke sends him all of the remaining money so that he will no longer try to find me. He hides several copies of the disc throughout the city in case they are attacked. They can use the drive to blackmail some influential people. And Luke drive to Seattle in the final scene to begin a new life. And the story ends here. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe and activating bell for notification until the next video. Thank you so much for watching.